It's good evening, everyone.
Late here.
Nancy, when you're ready, we can go ahead and do the roll call.
Okay, Lori, it's all yours.
Mrs. Salzer.
Here.
Mrs. Egan.
Here.
Ms. Davenport.
Present.
Mr. Hillman.
Here.
Mrs. Callan.
Here.
Mrs. Lammel.
Here.
And Mrs. Petropoulos.
Here.
Nancy, we can do the pledge.
Okay. Where you got a flag? Oh, there's the flag. Okay. There we go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
which
stands
pledge allegiance to the flag
nation,
of the United States,
indivisible, with liberty and justice.
nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh my God, what a mess.
So that brings, before we continue on to our introduction of guests, I just wanted to go over, obviously this is different than we've ever done before, and it's exciting that we're still able to meet and things some first time. As we go through the agenda tonight, I hope that after each item, we can kind of go around the group and see and comments, and if you have none, just feel free to say that you don't have any. But that way we can make sure everyone gets heard, and you could hear real quickly how it can get jumbled up if everyone is trying to talk all at once. So hopefully that will work for everyone tonight, and we can still get our thoughts and our opinions and our points across without just hearing a bunch of together. And if you've never been on this before, you do have a mute button down in the bottom left. I know especially some of you with kids running around the house, I know I use the mute button all the time when I'm not talking, and then I can unmute myself when I'm ready to talk, but feel free to do whatever you see fit for yourself. So Nancy, I'm going to turn it back over to you if you want to do any introduction of guests. We just have our two normal now.
Okay, we have Pat Callahan joining us and Corey to talk about Studio G stuff. Another thing, Adam and I were talking, I think either earlier today or yesterday, about if we ever have a circumstance where someone is out for an extended period of time, like Greg, when you were sick, if it's okay if we can include that person in on Zoom where they can be in attendance, if possible, you know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know on phone you can't, but I think if we use this, do you have to check anything out on that as far as?
Yeah, for right now, they've definitely relaxed all the rules, but we'll see.
I mean, like later, if we have somebody out extended time?
Yeah, I mean,
I'd like to know if we can do that to keep them
and
involved.
we'll check on that. They don't have any rules set at this point, but we'll check.
Okay.
Tiffany, did you?
Yeah, because I think prior to rules being relaxed, you cannot phone in or video conference in unless there were certain criteria that were met.
Yeah, and so like I said, it would be very interesting to see what they do moving forward now that almost every district has gone this route. But if they go back to what they had before, then no, this would not be allowed. So.
Yeah, I'd like to find out what the criteria is in this case. We ever, if anything significant comes up, and maybe I don't know.
I think it was literally work, like if you were out of town for work only or something.
Okay, not if you were sick for an extended length of time.
Well,
I believe it's just for work purposes only.
Okay, well, I was hoping that we can, solve that problem that we've had before. Okay, that's all I had to say.
All right, if you want to go to 2.0 donations to the district. We had a teacher, Karen Dempsey, who applied for education assistance product voucher for Amazon.com for kids learning. This was also, we found out after the agenda was printed, that Baker over at Grid Central also received the same donations. We had asked that we approve a donation for that both Julie Baker and Karen Dempsey received from Amazon.com for kids keep learning.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Is this motion for two people or just the one person that's on the agenda?
This would be for the two, so it would have to be a motion made for both.
So then the second one should be amended to represent the second person since it wasn't posted prior to the meeting?
Yes.
You can do that, yes, absolutely, you can amend that.
I will make the motion to approve both donations.
Okay, and Mrs. Lamel, do I still have you on the second?
Yes, you do.
Okay, Mrs. Callen,
Aye.
Mrs. Lamel,
Aye.
Mr. Holman,
Aye.
Ms. Davenport? Ms. Davenport?
Elaine, I don't know if they can hear you.
She did. Mrs. Egan?
Aye.
Mrs. Petropoulos?
Aye.
And Mrs. Salzer?
Aye. Okay. I should have printed this. I'm looking at it on my phone here.
We're at the consent agenda, Nancy.
Yeah. Okay, why don't you go? I think I'm on the wrong page.
First page.
Okay, here we go. Okay, consent agenda is the minutes. Approval of the minutes from March 10th. And then for open and closed session, the 14th open and closed session. Need a motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second. Mary.
Mrs. Lamel?
Aye.
Ms. Davenport?
Aye.
Mrs. Callen?
Aye.
Mr. Hillman?
Aye.
Mrs. Petropoulos?
Aye.
Mrs. Egan?
Aye.
And Mrs. Salzer?
Aye. Okay, next we have to pay the accounts payable for a whole variety of bills from payroll. Do I have to read every one, Adam?
No, we already approved the consent agenda. Nancy.
Yeah, that's part of the consent
Oh,
agenda.
no, it's part of the, it doesn't have to be separate, okay, whatever, got it.
We're down to superintendent's report.
Superintendent's report, so it's all yours.
I'll go ahead and take that over. First up, we have our enrollment report. And even though the state does require us to make sure that we are open for transfer outs, we have actually had nobody come in since the school closure. Nobody is being told to do that. Dot is checking voicemails constantly. So we still saw an increase from last month, but we're still down 66 students from last year at this time, which is pretty consistent of where we've been all year. We were in the 70s at the start of the year, but we're still in the 60s. So we've seen that pretty consistent all year. Next up for 4.2 is vacant positions and possible staffing needs. The two positions that have been added this month were the ones that were approved at the March board meeting, and those are the instructional math coaches, and those have recently gone up. So I will be interviewing along with the principals at both Ridge Lawn and Ridge Central for those positions. We have been doing some Zoom interviews for different things, and it seems to work out pretty well. Obviously, you always want to meet the person, but not knowing how long this is going to go, we also don't want to lose out on candidates who could possibly be very strong. So we have moved to this direction, and the other thing that is exciting, our virtual job fair. Remember, we were supposed to have a job fair Saturday, March 14th at Homewood Flossmoor, and they have moved it to a virtual one where it seems like just about every day since Friday, we've had a new candidate pop up where they record videos of themselves, and so you can at least get a feel of what they're for, and then you can call them in for a virtual interview. So at least it wasn't a complete waste of time signing up for it. We're at least starting to get some applicants, and the principals are getting those and calling the ones that they see fit.
The only thing about that is, when you have someone sitting in front of you and you talk, and get that back and forth, and you get either a camaraderie or like, don't like this person at all. So I haven't done this, so can you still have that? Does that still happen with the video? Or something missing?
It is definitely a different feel when you do it online than seeing a person right there in front of you. And if we get to that point, we can definitely talk about if there's safe ways to still bring someone in and to do that. You'll see later on, we do have someone we recommend for a position. I interviewed online, but the
Right.
principal was able, the principal and assistant principal were able to get that interview in before the school closed. So at least we knew we had some people who did it in person. So,
Okay.
yeah. Are there any other questions concerning the vacant positions? All right, next up is one of our bigger topics for the evening, and that's 4.3, the project financing discussion. And it's why I've asked Pat and Corey to hop on today. And I talked with Tammy from PMA, and if she's needed, we call her in. She'll hop in right on with us. But you remember, we've been having this discussion for a while, and exactly 1 month ago today is when we sat down on Saturday morning in the board room to listen to Pat and Corey about some ideas that they had and the project and the scope that we were looking at, as well as looking at our options for financing. And our goal tonight is really to get a clear understanding of which direction we want to move in. We don't have to take a formal vote of any kind, but we do need to know which direction, because if the direction is to go towards referendum, we need to get moving on it and getting our community organized and getting things done. But I know one of the questions at the meeting on that Saturday, the 14th, was just making sure that we're going to still be able to do some stuff in the classrooms for our teachers. And Pat and Corey hosted a virtual mock classroom meeting for us. And we set kind of some preliminary numbers, but I would just ask them briefly to touch base on exactly where we're at.
Great. Well, thank you. Yeah, we had a kind of a virtual design charrette with, I think we had 13 people, including, Adam and Kathy, some of the principals. We also had several teachers from varying grade levels involved, and we had Corey was kind enough to go out to your schools that just before we did that and take some 3D camera views of the inside of the room, so we could really put the experience in front of the teachers as if we were sitting in the room and have a conversation about some of the limitations, some of the challenges they had, looking at the existing furniture, et cetera. So what we came up with was we're going to go and prepare some recommendations for the group based on what we heard in terms of options, or we'll call preliminary designs. However, based on that dialogue, we were able to pull together what we characterize as a good modernization budget for the district as a whole, based on 28 students per classroom for all the classrooms in the district, whether it's a regular ed or a special ed classroom. And that number is right around $1 million, and that's, again, total for every classroom in the district. We're not recommending that you necessarily take on a project of that magnitude and do it district-wide. We still have some work to do with the teachers to ensure that we're making the right choices and we have the right options available. We think the budget provides you with the flexibility to make some choices on style of table or chair and storage units, so that the board can feel confident that that's roughly the target number we're looking at. But as we've done with many districts, we're looking at probably something that might take 3 or 4 years, or 4 or 5 years rather, where you look at spending this money over time, and you could do it by grade level, by building. That allows for there to be some PDCs within each facility. Teachers can leverage how they're using the new tools, the furniture. But that kind of dovetails in, and these numbers were not reflected in that big spreadsheet that we gave you, along with the chart that had, how much spending by year. But Corey has begun the incorporation of this into the overall plan. But I do think that we could carve out a portion of your financing model and ensure that we have a mechanism by which we can touch the learning environments each time we're in the buildings doing the other things that were on the list that we absolutely need to do. So we are going to have a follow-up charrette that will show some concepts to the teachers probably in the next couple of weeks once we finish some sketches. But I think it was actually a good way for the teachers to get maintain connection and get some really direct input. And the teachers were fantastic. We got some really good input on some of the challenges that they're facing in the classrooms and some of the things they really want to do with the students.
And this is for Pat, but for everyone. I know we talked about making changes in the classroom, but making sure that it's with teacher knowledge, that they are aware of why these would be coming in. And we talked about it being something where people had to submit and say how they would use it. Because we have people who are definitely ready to harness the flexible seating and some of the other ideas that Pat threw out there. And then we have other teachers who do definitely need more training on it before it will become useful in the classroom. I think everyone always wants something new, but it's definitely a big financial investment, and we want to make sure that we're getting the most out of it. So my hope would be to do it in stages where people really write an application basically for it and tell us how they would use it. And if they need assistance on how to do that, we'd be happy to work with them.
So are they planning on getting rid of all the seating, or just adding to what they already have?
Yeah, so it would be replacement. Like, so if the classroom has, let's say it's full of desks, but the teacher does want some tables and some individual areas that they can still have. Because not all students can do well sitting at a table of 4 kids. So some do need that time alone, and that flexible seating usually offers. You could have it where one day it's a group of, let's say, 6 kids working together, and the next day they're spaced out a little bit more. But you definitely can't fit more furniture in some of these classrooms than we already have. It would have to be a replacement.
Okay, what about some of the rooms that are smaller, that don't have the room? I mean, I know you're looking for versatility, where you can switch around and do different things, which is a good thing, obviously. But we have some small rooms that, your options are fewer.
Yeah, and it was interesting because when I think Corey put up a picture of one of the junior high classrooms, and the junior high teachers up there, they were laughing because it was the largest room in the entire school. And they were very honest about realistically what you could not do in there. So I don't know if you have more to add on that, guys, but it was definitely something that was discussed.
Yeah, because
Well,
over there's a couple of large rooms, but then there's some really, really small rooms. The newer rooms, some of those newer rooms are pretty small.
Yeah, I think the challenge that we see is in most of these classrooms, we have teachers, bringing in bookshelves and small bins on drawers, things they purchase at the Container Store or Target, and they're trying to create storage. I think one of the ways that we have found to improve the size of a room is to make the storage more efficient. We can't really change the size of a desk or a chair because that is what it is. But if we make the storage a little more efficient and take advantage of what I'll call the vertical piece, right? Because, we have these short little things all over the place that take up floor area, but when we can start stretching that taller, we start gaining floor area back. So that was one of the things we talked with the teachers, and we're going to make some suggestions that I think would fit for some of those smaller rooms to become more effective and more usable in the 21st century or modernized way.
Okay.
And I just have one more question. If this is going to be spread out between, like, say, 3 or 4 years, do you still get the same kind of discount that you would through the vendors that you're using, Pat?
Generally speaking, volume discounts on furniture, very few districts do whole buildings, in terms of or whole districts. What we see is anywhere 4 classrooms and up, you start seeing a significant discount. It's when you do a 1 classroom or a 2 classroom that you don't get a big discount. We would also recommend that we're going to suggest that when we come up with what I'll call a couple of our optimal designs for each location, that we call the manufacturers and say, hey, we want you to bring your furniture in our classrooms, and we're gonna pilot these, not at cost to the district. We're gonna pilot these because we want to make sure that looking at a picture or looking at a chair or sitting in a chair is really going to do what the teachers expect. So there's a little test drive period, I'll call it, that we're going to have on the front end of this before the district makes a significant investment.
So they'll allow us to do that, Pat, where we can just
Absolutely.
try different things?
Absolutely.
It didn't happen in more than one room because different people want to use different things, so.
Yes, we can do it. We can actually do it by grade level. We could do it different rooms. We can't do a, you know, so it would be like one pilot. We'd have one pilot per building. And let's just say we did third grade. And then we decided we want to do fifth grade. Well, that pilot would go away and we'd introduce a fifth grade pilot. So yeah, we can spend some time kind of allowing the teachers to experience what we're designing together so that they can see how they would use it. And I think to Adam's point, I think it would also help them write how they would use these new tools in a proposal way if they can actually physically see them, as opposed to just saying, hey, if I have a chair on wheels, I'm going to do this with it. As opposed to saying, yeah, well, a chair on wheels is great, but there's some limitations, but I really want to use it in this way. So I think it'll actually help the teachers get a little more acclimated to understanding it, and then leveraging that proposal idea directly into the beginnings of a professional development, right? Because we have teachers who are really going to take advantage of this, and they're going to spend a lot of time writing how they're going to use it, and they're going to fail forward on some things, and some things are going to work great, but that is the germination of a professional development program for the teachers at large, whether it's at a grade level or within a building.
So did you have any other questions for Pat or Corey?
That's it for me.
Yep. Chrissy, anything? Craig?
No, I'm good.
Okay, Elaine, nothing? Tiffany?
Nope.
And Tirza?
I'm excited. It sounds good.
Okay, all right, sounds good. At this point, Pat and Corey, if you guys want to go ahead and sign off from the meeting, and we'll keep going, but I think that's what we had for you.
Great. Well, thank you all very much. It was great to see your
Thanks,
smiley
guys.
faces. Good to see you all again. Hopefully I can see you again soon in person.
Yep,
There you go.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. All right.
thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, we have, the
Uh,
resolution.
Yeah, we're still on. That's still a big discussion we have to have with that information now and really knowing where we're at. We have to figure out which direction we really want to move with the bonds. And if you remember last time that we were given 4 scenarios from Tammy at PMA, 3 of them dealt with going to referendum. One was a $5 million referendum, and the other 2 were $9.8 million referendums. And then scenario 1 was taking out $5 million in working cash bonds, and then using the rest, about $4.8 million from our fund balances. And if you remember that our fund balances right now are at about 103%. And if we didn't add anything to our fund balances, we would end up taking that number from 103% down to 78%. So that's kind of where we're at. I wanted to open it up for anyone's opinions at this point. A lot has obviously changed in the last month. So just if you would like to share anything, now would be the time.
I've made it known from the beginning that I preferred solution number 1. I'm still in that mindset, especially with everything that's going on now. So we'll just have to wait and see on our funding from this point on. Too, but,
And I just wanted to add to, I'm sorry, I just wanted to add to, in terms of our percentage of fund balance, that money is not going to go out the door immediately. So
Right.
eventually we will use the funds. So we're going to see a gradual decrease in that 103%. It won't be right off the bat.
So we'll be able to at least get this first project, for these first few years done. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, and I also think what Tammy had advised, and it makes perfect financial sense, is, since we are anticipating selling bonds, we're going to use that money first, because then that $4.8 million of fund balances continues to earn interest.
Okay, that sounds logical. Anybody else?
I
Okay.
like the scenario 1 for many reasons. But my most important one is that I don't feel that if the state comes and takes our surplus money away, I think we should cover that money up and use it.
Yeah, I forgot about that. But yeah, you're right.
Would you explain that, Greg?
Adam, I think you could explain what the state's got in mind with that better than I can.
Yeah, so the state, as they move to the evidence-based funding model, one of the things they want to make sure is that all school districts are spending the money that they're given. So there have been proposals out there that you would have to spend your fund balances, or they would take it. If it's over a certain amount, they're going to, which I find very laughable, because we know what the state has done in the past, where all of a sudden they're telling you you're going to receive this money, and then they just pull the rug out from underneath you and you never receive it. And that's the whole reason why it's important to build up fund balances and to keep it healthy, and 78% is still actually above policy states. But there have been many proposals lately, and from what I'm hearing, that continues to gain steam of that possibly happening.
I mean, and also too, if once you bring it down, you have to pay more in interest. So it's like a catch-22.
Well, I think that it was pretty clear in the meeting too, that it shows good faith on our part to the community if we use some of that fund balance, that we don't have 103% sitting there and then we go ask them for money. So I think that also shows kind of a responsible nature of the district to the community as well.
Exactly.
The only thing that I was a firm believer in first going out for referendum, because if we were going to go all in, go balls in, and let's do it all. That was my first thing. But based on what's been going on, I tend to agree to take a little bit more conservative. The only thing that I am, I guess, going to be a pain in the rump about is that if we have those people, that percentage that show up to give us a hard time or whatever, that we as a board are like, yes, we are going to go to the people then to get them to vote. We can't back down. Do you know what I'm saying?
So Tears, are you talking about with like the 10% you're talking?
Yes, if 10% come forward and want us to pull it out to the thing, then we need to do that. I mean, I don't want to, if we're going to take a more conservative way to go, we still need to follow through, and we still need to say this is important. And I still, even though we don't have to be as much of a pavement banger as we were as a referendum, I think as a school board and as for Studio GC, is that we really need to make sure that the community is behind this and they know what this money is being done for and exactly what we're doing and how it is affecting, the new people coming in, and for grandma and grandpa who are selling their house, that, that's going to bring people in to our community and everything like that. Because if we have buy-in everywhere, then hopefully that 10% won't even show up.
Yeah.
We still have to have a public hearing, and if we wanted to, we could have a community forum to explain all that to anybody who wanted to know exactly what the money was being spent on and why. And all the reasons that we just talked about, we can easily have a community forum and have a few people stake. And real estate is a prime factor, because the better your schools are and and people see that you're investing in them, that draws families into the community, which is important.
Right.
And that was one of the core points that were made before we went out for referendum. And it was true. I mean, and we did get a lot of our seniors started moving out, and we got a lot of new families in. We were senior top heavy way back when. And now, so we have many more families that moved in after that, before. And that's how many years ago already? 20 years? So that was the scenario then, but we could still use a community forum to explain it. We still have one, as a public hearing or whatever, along with our public hearing.
Elaine, did you have anything to discuss on this?
I guess, my position is more with the climate of what's going on politically, with everything we've got going on. I just think the safest thing for us, for the school board and our community, would just be to go with option 1 at this point.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you wanted to add?
Did you say me?
Yes.
I don't.
Okay. All right. All right. So at this point, it sounds like the board is really heading in the direction of scenario one, which would be $5 million working cash bonds with $4.8 million fund balance. That's the direction it sounds like we want to head as a board. And that's what Kathy and I will begin talking with Studio GC and PMA about. And then those deadlines where we'll start looking at stuff will happen in, Kathy, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's in June and July, that area that we'll start really kind of having to talk more with the board about our options moving forward.
Correct. We will, we'll talk with Tammy and she will prepare the different options now that we have a direction. And then during the June, July, and August board meetings, there will be miscellaneous resolutions and documents that we would need to do prior to selling the bonds.
Okay.
Okay, do we know how quickly this can move? Because right now, because our economy sucks, it's a good time to buy.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and actually, I believe Tammy said we could certainly even push this up a little bit sooner. The June, July, August is a conservative time frame, but I really think if we want to get things moving, we could start as early as May.
And if we do that, can't we, I think she said something about locking in the interest rate. Am I right?
Yeah,
If we did it early, we could lock in.
right. Depending on where the interest rates are, it might be a good time. It might be a better time to wait. But what we have to remember is we still do have 6 months after we approve the sale of the bonds to actually issue them.
Yeah, because I remember her saying that once we have that thing, then she can play the game or say we have the ability to buy, and when it's good to buy, we can buy. But I'm just wondering how much longer this, everybody's taking advantage of this economy in one way. Why shouldn't our schools be able to take advantage of being able to get a lot of money at cheaper rates, just like everybody else would if they were refinancing a house or something?
Yep.
Sure.
Yep. Yeah, and we'll talk with her to see how quickly we can move the timeline on it to take advantage of those low rates. So
She just has to set it up, but we don't actually have to make the move. We could just lock it in. I know there's ways of doing that. So yeah.
Yeah, and we'll reach out to her tomorrow morning and just see what our options are. So
Okay.
Moving on to 4.4, the resolution for emergency suspension of policy due to COVID-19 pandemic. This has been a really interesting topic over the last month. The Illinois Association of School Boards sent out something towards the end of March that looked like a recommendation from them of a policy. And out of the 7 things that they recommended, most lawyers said 4 of them were completely illegal. But that did start our conversation with Lisa Calloway and just other districts to see exactly what they were looking at. And really this allows us, as the governor continually puts out executive orders and the Illinois State Board of Ed is changing their guidance weekly. It seems to slow down a little bit, but this would allow us to make sure that we are following what those orders are without having to call a special board meeting every time. And a perfect example of that would be tonight's board meeting. Our policies really right now would not necessarily allow us to have this board meeting, even though we are allowed by the state. But this would really allow it, if we saw a policy that we couldn't follow and follow the governor's executive order, it would be something that I would bring to the board president, and then we would make sure that we let everybody else know. But this is really just kind of covers our own butts moving forward if someone ever came back that you weren't following your own policies during the pandemic. So just wanted to see if anyone had any questions for this. We do have it as a vote later in the meeting.
Is this a pretty standard concept that everybody's pretty much doing right now? Am I right?
Yeah, a vast majority of districts are doing it. I actually talked to LSIP District 126, and they've gone as far as they're not having any board meetings before July, and they've given him authority to everything, which I think is kind of nuts. So you've seen everything from a resolution like this, which just allows us to change on an as-needed basis, all the way to that where it just kind of gives up all the power. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So that means if someone goes on vacation and they wanted to join the board meeting if they wanted to, and we were still doing it online, we could, right?
We could at this point, yes. But
As long as we're still in this format.
yeah, I think eventually they will change some of these back, but for now they're giving us quite a bit of flexibility.
Okay.
Well, for as much as I like you, Adam, I'm not giving you all the power.
I wouldn't want that responsibility at this point either. So
Don't they say absolute power absolutely corrupts?
Yep. Don't forget that.
yeah. So again, this resolution would really allow me to suspend policies along with, in conjunction with the board president. And then at a minimum, we would let the entire board know. But I would assume unless it's a dire emergency, we would talk to everyone ahead of time before we did that. So,
Yeah.
Any other questions on that one?
I'm good.
Nope.
I try to keep mine as short as possible. So we'll turn it over to the chief school business official.
All yours, Kathy.
Okay.
Do I need to get a cup of coffee for this?
No, short, even shorter than usual. Well, I'm just going to start off by saying I could get used to this because as soon as I'm done, I'm in my home. I just saved 40 minutes of drive time.
Nice.
Poor Dr. Thorne still has his drive. Okay, first thing on the agenda is this is the board meeting that we usually bring our Sunrise renewal to the board for approval. And Sunrise has been our transportation company for both special ed and regular education to the schools. And usually we go back and forth. They say 5%, we say 2%, and we settle. And historically, over the last couple of years, we've settled at 2%, which when you think of what CPI is, it's very realistic. Well, unfortunately, this year, they're asking for a 15% increase in our regular education contract. They feel that the special ed is adequately funded and they're requesting a 2%. And so I'm working with our attorney to see, what kind of wiggle room we have and reaching out to other business managers. I was on a call today that talked heavily about the transportation, and we're going to come to another issue. And everyone said that 15% it's just unreal. So our goal is to have a contract renewal by the May meeting. And we're very happy with Sunrise. We don't feel like we want to go out to bid for it. And quite honestly, it would be probably too late in the year to go out for bid. Historically, if you do that, you usually go for January and February. So if we went out to bid in a rush, we'd probably get ourselves in trouble. So I'll continue negotiating and try to get that to be a little bit more reasonable rate. And it brings us to our next item on the agenda. School districts have been advised by the Illinois State Board of Education to continue to pay its contracted vendors during school closures. And quite honestly, I'm having a real big issue with this, as I think most superintendents, business managers are. What they're saying is they meaning ISB, would like to see us continue paying for our food service company, our transportation, custodial if we outsourced. We don't, so that doesn't apply to us. And again, that call that I was on today really related to what the different districts are doing. There's districts that are negotiating paying up to 80% of services from mid-March to June that will most likely never start again till next school year. Then there's other school districts that are saying they're not paying a thing. I struggle with the CARES Act, which will have a lot of positive influences on these companies in terms of their payroll and these small business loans. Unfortunately, we're really never going to be able to quantify and put a dollar amount to any support we do give these companies. So really right now we're at a wait and see. There's too many variables. Guidance is coming out every couple of days. We're getting information on what other business managers are doing, which actually then rolls us into our next item on the agenda is the CARES Act. And this act was enacted back in March. And what it really does is it provides businesses along with school districts additional funding to survive. Now, I haven't seen this in print, but we have heard that part of the reason ISB is going to be giving us additional funding is to support these other businesses and to continue to pay companies such as transportation. Now, if you read the guidance in the board packet, it doesn't mention anything about that. It talks about more tangible items, you know, getting necessary cleaning equipment, remote learning, technology, possibly summer school. There's a lot more included in that CARES Act that we can spend our money on. And supporting our transportation company when they're trying to get a 15% increase. To me, those two items kind of go hand in hand, and I think we really need to negotiate those at the same time. Even though the president of the company is telling me that one really doesn't have to do with another, I kind of think it does. So I'd really like to know your opinion on where you're at. One, in terms of, you know, agreement or disagreement that a 15% increase is outrageous, and your thoughts on paying anything towards our transportation, just let's say to cover salaries or some fixed expenses. What's everyone's thoughts on those?
Tiffany had her hand up, so we're going to let her go first.
Oh.
I found the button, everybody. So there's a raise hand button.
What?
There's a raise your hand button. So if you click on your screen, you can see where, and then it signals that somebody wants to say something. I, of course, find this to be appalling that they would do this, but this is not new. They did this to us before. And I don't, Greg, you're really good usually about remembering specifics about things, but this is not new. Greg, do you remember anything about this from before?
No, I really don't. 'Cause we weren't in this type of situation before. The only thing is negotiating the contract.
Right, and not going out to bid and making it past the point. And it was when Sue was still here. So Kathy, I don't even know if you would have any recollection or where you were in the process of this, but they have for sure done this before.
And I really appreciate you saying that, Tiffany, because no, I was not aware that this happened before, but quite honestly, other business managers, they weren't surprised. So maybe there are some more old timers that have been through this and see what the outcome is, because I love the word appalling. Why? I understand that people need to get paid, and I have no problem, you know, maybe covering salaries or a portion of it so that these people can still work. But really what it comes down to is the taxpayers are funding these privately held companies that make a profit. And I'm really struggling with that.
Right.
Yeah, I think 15% is outrageous. Do I expect it to be more than 2%? Of course, because of the times we're in right now. But 15% is outrageous.
Agreed.
Okay, somehow I got knocked out. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, I'm just trying to get back in.
Push the bottom.
I'm on a different page. It got me to a launch here. Click to launch back in. I don't know what the hell happened. Join me.
We can see you
Yeah.
and hear you.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm not seeing you guys at all.
Can you hear us, Nancy?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Push down at the bottom and see if you got the video and that stuff comes up.
Wait, what did you say?
Are you inside Zoom still or no?
No, I'm back a page and I don't know what the hell happened.
I would just look at the bottom, or if you want to sign out and then try to sign back in, Nancy.
I might have to do that. Okay, I'm doing that.
So can they charge us the same? I mean, couldn't they offer discounts right now just for the things that are being paid, let alone because they're not using the gasoline? I mean, right there. And they're not
Right.
using the food. Like, I mean, that's to me like paying the service worker like the salary $10 an hour for driving the bus. But I'm wondering, like, we're not even getting the food. I mean, we're getting the breakfast, some of the breakfast and the lunches, but I'm just curious, do they prorate kind of the bills?
Well, let me add that it's only our transportation company that has approached us. Open Kitchens have not, and I'm going to say they've been more than cooperative with our meal program, but they haven't asked us for anything. It's only our transportation. And you're exactly right. They have fixed expenses and variable expenses. The fixed is obviously their lease, their rent, things like that they really have no control over. The employees.
I'm curious if they're even paying people.
Well, and that's another thing, because with the CARES Act and the generosity of the federal government to cover unemployment,
Right.
there's all sorts of factors here.
Yeah, I'm just curious if they didn't lay people off or whatever, because are they paying people who are hourly work? I mean, I don't assume
Right.
these are salary workers. So are they trying to get money from us that they're not even putting out? I don't know how it works.
And if they apply
Directly-
for those grants to pay
Right.
the people, why should they get both? You know, if that's making money off the backs of other,
And-
plus that's 15%, something's not right there.
And I would hope they wouldn't willingly try to make money on this situation. The problem is we can't quantify it. And in speaking to our council, what he did say is, you know what, we have it in our budget. We were anticipating these expenses. And keep in mind, we are reimbursed, I'm just going to say roughly 80% from ISB for our transportation costs. So for every dollar we do give for services not rendered, we will be getting a portion of that back, but certainly not 100%. And what our attorney had suggested is kind of maybe meeting them somewhere and saying, okay, you know what, we will pay for the drivers, but you need to give us a certified payroll. You know, you need to substantiate that you
Oh,
pay
good idea, yeah.
and they're not on unemployment.
I was wondering if the drivers were part-time or full-time, or does anybody know that?
Yeah, I think most of them work part-time, and they drive our routes. I think for the majority of them, that's what they do. They come in, they drive the routes in the morning, and they drive the routes in the afternoon. So,
And some of them get like trips and stuff in between, but
Yeah.
that's not everybody.
Here's it look like you raised your hand.
Yes, I did. Okay, I found it too, Tiffany. All right, so I know people are asking about the CARES Act and everything like that, and the only reason that I am somewhat privy to it is because my company is women-owned, and we qualify for this CARES Act thing. There are several different things through the Small Business Association that they're able to do, and basically what they're going to be doing is they're going to be giving people basically the equivalent of 2 months worth of payroll.
Yeah.
And that is payroll including benefits and everything that they will give them a loan for. And it's only at 1%. Then there is a possibility that you will get up to those 8 weeks. And there's different thoughts about whether it'll only be $10,000 or it'll be the full portion will actually be forgiven. In other words, free money. So like Kathy, I feel that, I mean, and I don't know if there is a way that we can find out, I don't know, because that I don't know, of whether or not you can find out who actually could or did get this SBA loan, because I'm sorry, like Kathy, I'm not going to make the taxpayers pay on the back of taxpayers to pay Sunrise for them to jack our rates for 15% and get another $10,000 of that absolutely free from the federal government. You know, and that's the hard thing, is that they do have to prove payroll though for this business loan, and there are things. They have not approved anything yet. Everything's in the hoppers right now. It's kind of crazy. But, you know, there is that possibility that some of these places are going to say, poor me, and then they're going to turn around and get money from the government, and then all of us suckers are giving them money.
Yeah, and I think all three of these topics, the 15% raise, the asking to get paid currently, and the CARES Act all really go hand in hand. That's why, unlike some other districts, we have not jumped on paying them anything at this point. And it is a little bit of a gamble right now, because you also don't want them to all of a sudden say, well, we can't service you next year, which some bus companies are definitely going to say if they have to let people off. So it is kind of a balancing act, but we haven't rushed into it right now, but it is something we definitely have to continue to talk about. And the CARES Act, I don't want to spend all the money on transportation. I think there's some really good things to do with that money, whether it's technology based. I would love to have a summer program to help the students with the gaps that they're having right now. I don't want that happening this summer, because I don't see them allowing us back in school this summer. But it's something I definitely would want to see the following summer to help with that. So.
I can't find the raise your hand button, but do you really
It's in
think they'll pull the
boring
plug?
Right.
I mean, we have to have a huge contract with them.
Well, next year we don't. Go ahead, Kathy.
Yeah, you know, I've asked myself that a couple of times, Chrissy, you know, the old adage, cut your nose to spite your face. You know, why, you know, we've had a wonderful relationship, I'm going to say probably on and off for the last 15 years. And why would they not be available to when schools do reopen? And then there's also the issue with unemployment being so high, you know, maybe there will be an increase in bus drivers, and maybe the costs will go down, along with when you said about the gas. You know, there are cost savings here.
They're a profitable company. They're not a nonprofit.
Correct.
Correct. Yep.
So,
Yeah, but if they have to prove that you know, if they're already paying them out of pocket, you know, but that's one thing. But if they're not, why aren't they? I mean, if these people all applied for unemployment, they can't double dip. They can't do both.
Yeah.
Correct.
You
Greg,
know,
you had your real hand up.
Kathy, do you know any other district that's using Sunrise? And are they getting taken over the coals like we are?
You know, I asked that in my meeting today, Greg, and it seems like not a lot of people use Sunrise. We were all talking in general terms, and nobody shared the increase with me of comparing the 15%. But unbelievable how many people have negotiated paying through the end of the school year. Is as much as 85%.
that's nuts. That's nuts.
And
And
Greg,
that's why
I don't know for Sunrise as much. I do know in my previous district, and having talked with other business managers, that they do occasionally see this spike that the bus companies will just throw out. And when they have gone out to bid, I don't think it's any secret that bus companies are a monopoly, and they'll all together and say, all right, we're going to all put out 20 to 25% bids, and then they end up paying that much more when they do go out. It's definitely something we should consider when we're making a decision.
And I'm just going to add one more thing. I think financially, in terms of negotiating this, I think the more important is the rate of increase, because that is going to be with us till the end of time. A lump sum, let's say we decide to spend $10,000 a month to cover their salaries. You know, we're going to get back 80%. It's a gesture of goodwill, if you will. But a 15% is like roughly $60,000, and you compound that over the next 10 years, let's say. It's a big amount.
Okay, there are a number of companies that are owned by the same person, but I don't think Sunrise is owned by like Illinois and a few of the other. I think Rich Lee are all owned by the same people now.
Mhm.
And that's what's happened. They formed a conglomerate.
I heard you say the words good faith.
Okay,
I heard you say good faith, which,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Is that something that you could say to them? We're going to give you 80% of what we're supposed to pay you because we're going to take into account that people aren't actually driving and they're not using gas. However you figure it out, and just say, we're being in good faith, good clients. This 15% increase is ridiculous. Can you show that good faith back to us? Is there a way to use it? Not leverage, but I guess leverage. I don't know how else to put it.
But it is leverage, and part of me, this 15% came out of nowhere, where part of me kind of thinks they know exactly what they're doing, kind of putting us in a bad spot. Even though they say one doesn't have to do with the other, I think that's exactly what it is. It is leverage, and we have to bargain them both together.
I'm sorry if I missed it. What are the normal increases for them?
The last 2 years, they were only 2%. Historically, they'll offer about a 5%, 4%. We go back, we send a letter, we say 2%, and it's done. I really wasn't expecting this. When I first did the board agenda, we had the item on there to approve the contract, just like every other year.
It's crazy.
Kathy, have you, I'm sorry, can you just go back in time for us? This is not something that gets negotiated every single year, correct?
It is because historically we've been very happy with Sunrise. So the process is we have the ability just to basically renew the contract. And so we go back and we barter, for a couple of emails back and forth, and then we settle on a negotiated rate.
But every year that happens?
Every year, yes, correct.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not like new management or them taking advantage of you. This is something that is already.
It is new management, Tiffany. The gentleman that we normally work for, apparently he is still with the company, but he took a different position. So this is a brand new contact, at least for our district.
Any other questions on actually all three of those topics, the bus for this year, the bus contract for next year, or the CARES Act at this point?
Okay, so I'll just
I know
kind of keep
Kathy will keep us all
everybody
posted.
up to date on those. Okay, and it's getting a little dark in my study here, so I might have to squint or get up and turn on the light. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is our board policy is to have any contracts over 10,000 approved by the board. And we certainly do our best to do that at every opportunity. But this is the time of the year we share with the board all the cumulative expenditures, just in case we had a small vendor. I'm just going to throw out, let's say, Office Depot. If Office Depot edged itself over $10,000, we need board approval on that. So in your packet, you'll see the list, and I'll be asking the board to approve that at the end of the meeting. And then finally, E-Ray contracts. This is actually year 5 of the E-Ray program, and we still had some money left over in each three schools. And so Gino, like he does every year, he kind of scours his inventory and sees what is at end of life. And so in your board packet, you will see a contract with SinglePath, who is our IT support right now. And we put it out for bid. It's a very formal process. We had one other vendor bid the equipment, but no other vendor bid the installation. SinglePath came in as low bidder for both, and so we will be asking the board to approve that. Gino had told me that it's for some firewall upgrades that are out of date and some switches. And the amount you'll be approving is for $41,000 and change. Keep in mind that 85% of that will be discounted through E-Ray. The school district is only going to be responsible for 15% of that. Does anybody have any questions on that?
Nope.
Okay, and I am going to sneak in one other. Right before the meeting, I did get a correspondence from Lincoln Way Area Affiliation, and that is our insurance co-op. And they gave us the heads up about 6 months ago that our insurance premiums for the upcoming school year would not change. And that letter actually did come today. So that is clarified that there will be no increase in our premiums for insurance for
Okay.
next year, which is a really big win.
Health insurance, Kath?
Health insurance, they actually said dental and vision, I'm sorry, not vision, dental will not change as well. Vision is a different company.
And I'm just going to throw in one other that I was supposed to put in mine, but it kind of fits in here because Kathy has been working on it with our registration. Obviously, registration was supposed to take place this Saturday. We don't see any time in the near future where it will make sense to bring a whole bunch of people into a crowded gymnasium. So we are working hard at getting our online registration up and running for our students that are returning to us. We are still trying to figure out exactly what to do with new families coming in, because I do think you still want them to come in and prove that residency in person. And it's something we're talking with many other districts to see what they have done and really what our options are. But our hope is that sometime in early to mid-May at the latest, we will have our online registration up and running and being able to take the discounted rate at that time. We'd probably have it open for about a week and a half at the discounted rate, close it down for about a day or two, and then open it up the following Monday where it's back to its normal rate. So we still would allow people to have that opportunity to get the discounted rate. So any question on the registration online?
No, once you're gonna try and do it by Saturday? And was that date already announced before?
No, it wouldn't be this Saturday. That was the original date for registration, and I
Okay.
sent out in my last correspondence that had been canceled, and that we are looking at online registration, and we're hoping we'll have a good idea. We're going through some training. It sounds like at the end of this week, beginning of next week, it's through Teacherease and of exactly what it's going to what's going to be contained in that. And once we have an idea, then we'll be able to get a date to our families, because I know we've had some families who are very anxious to know.
Okay, and then you'll send out a blast to everybody?
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah. It will be a learning process for our families for sure, because our junior high parents usually are pretty wise on how to use Teacherease, but for our K-5, it could be difficult for some. So we want to give them enough time to figure it out. Tiffany?
So would there still be some sort of a discount for early, even if it's not winding up early?
Yeah. So we would adjust the dates. So maybe we'd give that first week and a half when online registration is open for that to be considered the early time to kind of incentivize people to do it. And then I said we would close it for like 2 or 3 days, like Thursday, Friday, over the weekend, and then we would open it back up on that Monday for everyone after that.
So, I mean, maybe it could also be stated, ahead of time in terms of like, another reminder that there is no in-person registration. We still will have it early, so discounts will still apply. We will let you know, as soon as possible, so that people are knowing that that's still a possibility, maybe in 2 weeks or, a general time frame versus like, oh, I'm going to spend that money now. And then, oh, shoot, I didn't know you were still going to have early discount,
Yeah. Yep. We can definitely get that out. Any other questions on that?
Nope.
All right. Nancy, we should be on 6.0, old business.
Old business, yeah.
Yep. And
Do we
then,
have old business? I don't see anything here.
Nope.
So new business.
Yeah, and our new business, the legislature was nice enough before we went on closure to send us another round of policies for the first reading. These are much less intense than our last storm of policies that we had. Really, the only recommendations that they are asking for are 2.125 board member compensation and 560 expenses, and both are the same question. And does the board reimburse for baggage fees? And I would, just to keep it in line with what else we have in there, I would recommend yes. I know we are not a board that flies all over the country to conferences that you can get locally, but it is in there that we reimburse for things that are transportation, connected to transportation. So I think baggage fees in today's climate, unless you're flying Southwest, you are going to have to for some of those. So even though I don't see us using it very often, I would recommend yes for the baggage fees. Every other one really just kind of went in line with the just 5-year review or some legal reference changes. 830, the visitors conduct for email systems. I know we had some questions about that. And that is really to make sure that we don't have companies or individuals who just mass email the entire district when it's a problem they're having with a teacher. We have not had that as far as I know in this district, but I know other districts that have, that you get an upset parent who will find out what the all email is for every member of the district, including custodians, and just constantly send emails to them. So this kind of protects us from that. So.
Okay, so we have to call for a vote on all of them and say no, and then except for those 2.
No, this is just potential board action to post for first reading.
Oh, first reading, okay.
Yep.
I'll make the motion to post for first reading.
I'll second that.
Mrs. Petropoulos,
Aye.
Mrs. Callan? Mrs.
You
Callan?
said, yeah, you're muted, Mary.
There you go. Aye.
Thank you. Mrs. Egan?
Aye.
Mrs. Lammle? Mrs. Lammle? Okay, I saw you say aye. Mr.
Aye.
Ms. Davenport?
Aye.
And Mrs. Salzer?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have 7.2 and 7.3, and we are gonna, Amanda asked that we vote on these separately because they are 2 separate companies, but this goes back to our math materials that we've been talking about for quite a while now. And our first one up is the Bridges Number Corner and Intervention Kits for grades K-5 at a cost of $44,968.57. And that does include professional development, and it's exactly what we had out at the board meeting last time. And obviously moving forward, and this goes for both K-5 and 6-8, we are going to have to, and not just our district, but every district, really look at our curriculum for when we come back, because even though we have remote learning, I think we all know that it's what students would receive in the classroom. So we're
They
going
won't be up to speed.
to be ready to adjust some things when we come back. Tiffany?
So at our last meeting, I had asked if that was something that was going to be renewed or decided on every year, or if that was part of a multi-year contract. So I understand it's $45,000 for the year, but is that something then we are committing to using every year for the next 5 years, or is that up for discussion every year?
Yeah, so that license goes into place regardless. It's good for, I think it's 7 years. The license is good for online. The student books is something that you would purchase every year. And we are not locked into having to buy that beyond the first year.
Okay, so we could spend the $45,000 this year, and we may spend it again, or we may not, or may use some combination or whatever, but
Yeah,
we're not
and-
locked into spending that every year for the next 5 or 7 years.
Correct, yeah. So that's a one-time purchase fee. And then I believe the books for the student consumables were something like $3.20. And that's something you would decide every year whether you purchase.
Okay.
So like the workbook type things, right?
Yes,
The additional stuff.
correct.
Right, but that was part of a separate program, and we're
Right.
looking at having a new program for the following year. So
Right.
Yes.
my concern was locking into something that might be better suited or easily replaced and not being able to do so if the district wanted to do that. Okay, I'll make the motion to approve that.
I'll second it.
Mrs. Callan,
Aye.
Mr. Hillman,
Aye.
Mrs. Egan, Ms. Davenport,
Aye.
Mrs. Petropoulos,
Aye.
and Mrs. Lammle,
Aye.
and Mrs. Salzer.
Aye.
And 7.3 is the potential board action to approve the purchase of illustrated math materials for grades 6 through 8 at a cost of $55,456.91. And that includes our consumable and non-consumable material kits. That is a that one is a 5-year subscription, which includes consumables and a 2-day PD for teachers. And remember, this is the program. This is not just kind of, as we had said, an add-on. This is an actual program. And I did share that there was no integrated honors for next year. Our teachers, and I feel very confident with our junior high teachers, that they will be able to look at the standards, look at the materials, and create their own really curriculum for the integrated class. Algebra will be ready to go in time, but that was really the only surprise we have had since the last meeting. And a lot of it had to do with the school closures, having to shut down some different things. That's why they're not going to have it done in time for the integrated bath. Any questions?
Okay, so, oh yeah, Adam, so this program is the program that we're doing, because I know the younger grades was like a little bit of a enhancement.
Yeah.
And this same program that we're looking at for the junior high school is something that is in the works for the younger grades, correct? That is the
Correct.
same.
Yes,
Okay.
and so that's the one that we would be looking at piloting next year, K-5, and this 6 through 8 is the one that we definitely would like to go with. So
Okay, all right. I'll make a motion then.
I'll
A
second
second.
it.
I'm sorry, I think I had Mrs. Callan first on the second.
Okay.
Mr. Hillman,
Aye.
Mrs.
That
Egan.
was Tiffany. That wasn't Mary. That was Tiffany.
Oh, thank you for the correction. So I've got Mrs. Egan on the second. Mr. Hillman was a yes. Mrs. Egan,
Yes.
Yes.
Mrs. Petropoulos,
Aye.
Ms. Davenport,
Aye.
Mrs. Lammle,
Aye.
Mrs. Callan,
Aye.
and Mrs. Salzer.
Aye.
and then, Mrs. Salzer, would you like to start with 7.4?
To approve for the tentative vendor list for cumulative expenditures over $10,000 for school year 1920.
I'll
Okay,
make the motion.
I'll second.
I'll second them.
Okay, I do have Mrs. Callan on the second for that. Mrs. Egan,
Aye.
hit my phone here.
Mrs. Callan,
Aye.
Mr. Hillman,
Aye.
Mrs. Lammle,
Aye.
Mrs. Petropoulos,
Aye.
Ms. Davenport,
Aye.
and Mrs. Salzer.
Aye. 7.5, potential action to approve contract with Single Path in the amount of $41,631.25 for the purchase of installation of IT equipment.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Ms. Davenport,
Aye.
Mrs. Egan,
Aye.
Mrs. Lammle,
Aye.
Mr. Hillman,
Aye.
Mrs. Petropoulos,
Aye.
Mrs. Callan,
Aye.
and Mrs. Salzer.
Aye. 7.6, potential board action to approve resolution for emergency suspension of policy due to COVID-19 pandemic.
And just remember, this is not the one that gives me all-knowing power. This is the one that just allows the suspension of the ones during the pandemic.
Right, temporary.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Mrs. Petropoulos,
Aye.
Ms. Davenport,
Aye.
Mrs. Callan,
Aye.
Mrs. Lammle,
Aye.
Mr. Hillman,
Aye.
Mrs. Egan,
Aye.
and Mrs. Salzer.
Aye. We don't have any visitors anywhere?
We do not. And I do just want to mention that tonight would have normally been our night to honor and recognize those students who did awesome during the second trimester.
Yeah.
They should have been receiving their videos from their administrators today, and their certificates hopefully are in the mail. We sent them out once already, and we miscalculated a little bit on the postage. So those that was also in the
Oh,
message
boy.
from the principals today, that those will be coming to them this week. So obviously it's not the same. I think getting a video from your principal and hopefully the certificate helps soften that blow just a little bit.
That was really nice. Annalisa really liked it. Mrs. Nothnagel, made a big deal about it. And actually, it was kind of nice. It wasn't just there. She announced it just like she would a regular, announcing who the fourth graders were and who the fifth graders were. It was kind of nice to be able to watch. I mean, of course, it's not the same, but it was really awesome that, that it was, she got to hear her name read and stuff like that. So it was definitely a good thing and thought out. And I think considering all that's been going on, I think it's amazing how kind of normal some things are still, if that makes sense. A new normal, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and I appreciate that, and I'll make sure I pass that along to the principals. So.
Okay, President's prerogative. I think that what we're doing today with this Zoom is, and I'm new to Zoom completely. I know some of you have been using it for work. I think it's going very well. So thank you for all hanging in there, and I hope you're surviving well under these circumstances, definitely. All I know is I could never go to jail. I would not do well. I would
Well,
not do
don't do anything that's going to put you there.
No, I mean, I wouldn't, but I know just this, and I can even go outside and everything now, but I would not do well in jail. Okay, adjourn to closed session.
Yes, we do have a very short closed session. So we will be adjourning to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, as well as discussion of minutes or of prior meetings lawfully closed under the Open Meetings Act as defined in Section 2C21 for the purpose of review, approval, or release of such minutes. We will not be hearing any testimony, and we will not be talking about any security measures during this meeting.
I have a question. Do I take notes like I usually do?
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I can, or do I have to, or do I not have to?
You really don't have to. There's not that much in this closed session that's going to really,
Yeah, this closed session should be very quick.
yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
And then,
Thank you.
the 7:48 for closing.
I'll make the motion to go in closed session.
I'll second it.
Okay. All right, who was on that, Tirza? Mr.
That's me.
Hillman,
Aye.
Mrs. Egan? Mrs. Kelly?
Hi.
Hi.
Mrs. Lammle?
Aye.
Ms. Davenport?
Hi.
Ms. Petropoulos?
Aye.
And Mrs. Salzer?
Aye, so it's 7:49.
And Dr. Thorns, did you receive the documentation for going into closed?
We're all set.
All right.
Thank you, Lori. Have a great evening.
Bye, Lori.
Everybody.
Bye,
Good night.
Laura.
Bye, guys.
Hi, Lori.
Thank you.
All right. Does anyone need to go to the bathroom right now or anything?
Yes, I'll be real quick.
Dad,
Better raise
we
your
have
hand.
13% left.
Following.
Well, Tirza, that gives us
I
good
see.
reason to speed through it. And I don't think we're going to have a very long closed session or open session when we get back. So.
Hey, Adam, can I ask a little side question while
Yes.
we're here and waiting?
Yeah.
So today the junior high girls got an email from the PE teacher that they were cutting back on their time, and they're only going to be sending 2 workouts a week.
Okay.
And I guess that was extremely confusing because I thought that they were going to be getting 5 days a week plus an additional 30 minutes of optional stuff.
Yeah, so what they are getting officially from their PE teachers are those 2 days, and then the other optional stuff are in the movement section of the the district webpage, and that's where our PE and our teachers across the district are posting movement activities in there. From an
But
actual,
why aren't they getting, I thought they were going to get 5 days of PE and then additional movement things for an additional 30 minutes. So that they were up to the hour that it says the state is recommending kids have.
no, and there's probably enough, I don't know if you've had a chance to go on that movement page, but there is
I can mute myself.
20 hours worth of stuff, at least when I looked on it, of different options. But from a class standpoint, it's only 2 days a week.
But when you have 20 different options for kids, they're going to pick none because it's overwhelming. And so having the PE teachers in charge of instruction and having them actually do something for half of the amount of time, especially when we think of how many of our kiddos live in apartments and are, you know, stuck inside. I saw that and I thought that just had to be wrong because that didn't seem to go with what the guidelines were or what was being said or even what you have posted, because you know you have the guidelines posted which says that they should be having 60 minutes of, so I just didn't understand that because I thought it was going to be half and half. Like, of course PE teachers cannot provide 60 minutes of instruction, but I don't understand why they can only provide 2 days of instruction rather than every day.
Yeah, and I can talk with Jeff and Julie tomorrow and kind of see where they're at. My biggest thing is I do want to make sure that they have options because I know they get bored very quickly with the same thing over and over. But I definitely see what you mean with if it's not assigned, they're not going to do it. So
Yeah.
I'll talk.
Okay.
I'm going to try. Is Lori's blank screen still showing up for you guys?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not seeing the agenda for the closed session.
So I'm going to go ahead and pause our recording right now.
Returning to open session.
I think you need to give a time, Nancy.
Pardon me?
You need to give a time returning to open session.
Oh, I'm sorry.
7:57.
Oh, back to 7:57. Oh, shut up.
Echo.
Potential board action on personal consent agenda. Rawan Alaweed, paraprofessional at Ridge Central at a rate of $12 an hour. And Justin Perkins, ELA self-contained teacher at Finley Junior High to start August 17th, 2020.
I'll make
I
the
make the
motion.
motion. Oh, yeah. I'll second Greg's motion. This is Tirza.
All right, Greg and Tirza. Mrs. Egan,
Aye.
Mrs. Callen,
Aye.
Mrs. Lammel,
Aye.
Ms. Davenport,
Aye.
Mrs. Petropoulos,
Aye.
and Mrs. Salzer.
Aye.
Next up, we have the potential board action to award tenure to the following individuals. We have David Hall, 8th grade science teacher at Finley Junior High. We have Annie Watson, 4th grade teacher at Ridge Central. And we have Megan Hernan, pre-K teacher at Ridge Central.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
That was Mary.
Yes.
Mrs. Petropoulos,
Aye.
Mr. Hillman,
Aye.
Mrs. Egan,
Aye.
Mrs. Callen,
Aye.
Ms. Davenport,
Aye.
Mrs. Lammel,
Aye.
and Mrs. Salzer.
Aye.
11.3, the notification of resignations, retirement of support staff. We have Nancy Meskel, paraprofessional at Ridge Law and School, who will be retiring at the end of this year. 11.4, potential board action on resolution releasing closed session minutes and destruction of verbatim tapes 18 months and older. Can we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Mrs. Lammel,
Aye.
Ms. Davenport,
Aye.
Mrs. Callen,
Aye.
Mr. Hillman,
Aye.
Mrs. Petropoulos,
Aye.
Mrs. Egan,
Aye.
And Mrs. Salzer.
Aye.
We have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
We didn't.
I'll second.
Oh,
Woo.
wait a second.
Oh, I'll second it.
We had the releasing the tapes 18 months and older.
Yeah, I believe that's what we just voted on.
Yeah.
No. Okay, then,
Okay, so I
Was
have
it like to release and destroy the other ones?
yeah. Sorry about that.
problem.
Nancy in the dark.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I've got the light on, but it's in front of me. If it's behind me, then it blurs the picture.
Hey, Adam,
Yes,
this second meeting this month has been canceled?
it has been, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Study session.
I still have to, Mrs. Egan,
Yes?
Mrs. Callen,
Yes.
we're voting to close out the meeting. Mr. Hillman,
Aye.
Aye.
I made
Mrs.
the
Lammel,
motion.
Aye.
Mrs. Petropoulos,
Aye.
Ms. Davenport,
Aye.
and Mrs. Salzer.
Aye. And the time is 8:01. Wow, record time.
Wow.
And I would really like to thank all of you. I know, again, this is not the easiest way to go about a meeting, but I felt like it went as smooth as it could go, and we got to vote on some important topics. So I really appreciate it. If you have some things that we could do next time to make it go a little bit smoother, please don't hesitate to reach out, and we'll try to make those adjustments next time. So,
Well, nice time. Nice job, Adam.
all right. Have a great evening,
Nice
everyone.
job.
Stay healthy.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Good
Good
night,
night, everybody.
everyone.
Hey,
Good
happy
night.
Easter, Cindy.
Thank you.
Lane.
Lane,
Wait.
when is Big Easter?
It's this Sunday.
Okay, enjoy.
So I'm coming over. You can put your lamb in a baggie on your
Oh, I
front
don't
porch
do
for me.
lamb.
No way.
Animal rights person.
Really? What
Yeah, I
Greek
don't do
doesn't eat the lamb?
I don't do lamb. We do prime rib, but we don't do lamb.
Oh, we do prime rib too, but yes, okay.
Yeah.